going at LeBron. It's all competition because we know he looks up to LeBron, said he's like a big brother to him during the Olympics and all that. But if you think about LeBron's career, I feel like very few guys have just gone at him. Like, Ant is like, look, I know we friends off the court, but I am going for your throat on the court.
And the guys who have, Dylan Brooks or Deshaun Stevenson, they're not stars. You know what I mean? Not stars.
Stars, I think Paul Pierce and Kobe.
Yeah.
I don't think Wade, I feel like I know they competed, they both had great games, but I don't feel like he went to attack LeBron like this. So I love, and this is what he did with KD last year too.
Yep.
He went at him. So there's that. But this series is boiling down to one phrase to me: changing of the guard.
Oh.
Anthony Edwards is asserting, and thus far has asserted himself as the best player in this series. Now, I know the statistics show that both LeBron and Luka are having a better series statistically, but when you talk about impact on the game, it is Anthony Edwards who is dominating, and really we're seeing it in the clutch, down the stretch, not just the fourth quarter, but the last 5 minutes of game. So yesterday, Lakers up 10 starting the fourth quarter, up 7 with about 5 minutes left. And then here's what happens. Anthony Edwards goes ahead and scores five points from that point on. Luka goes 1 for 6 in the fourth quarter. Luka has no points, no assists. LeBron has no points, no assists. LeBron didn't score any in the fourth. And then, of course, LeBron had the turnover. He made some great defensive plays, but had that turnover with 30 seconds left on the pass. That was game 4 yesterday. Game 3, Luka, 2 points in the clutch. LeBron, no points in the clutch, last 5 minutes. And Anthony Edwards, 7 points down the stretch. Here's a graphic of what these 3 superstars have done down the stretch of the last 2 games. Last 5 minutes, last 2 games combined. You see Anthony Edwards has 12 points, shooting 50% from the floor, getting to the line. LeBron and Luka haven't done anything offensively. And yesterday, Nick, the role players stepped up for both teams in the stretch. Reeves, Rui, DFS hit a 3.
Game 3, Rui had a brutal end of game. Game 4, the role players played
they all hit 3. And the same thing for the Wolves. McDaniels played well. Nasri hit 2 threes, I think 8 points altogether. But Anthony Edwards down the stretch has asserted himself as the best player in this series. And the series games are close. It's that little bit of difference that's making the difference.
And listen, I think all of us, in all seriousness, thought if the games are close down the stretch, it favors the Lakers.
Yes. And it did.
And it didn't. I mean,
it should. In the regular season, the Wolves
that's what I was
were one of the worst defensive teams in the league. The Lakers, in the clutch.
One of the worst clutch teams. Correct.
Anthony Edwards might have been clutch player of the year had they won more games. They were under 500 in the clutch. Lakers were well over 500, so I agree.
Right, that it was, if it's in the balance late, it should favor the Lakers, and maybe, it would have if they weren't dog tired, and we'll get to that more in a bit. But this is, the Ant piece of it is Ant's rapidly growing resume. He's 23 years old. Last year, he knocked off Durant and Booker, and then Joker and Murray, and then Luka got him. And now he has a chance to knock off Luka and LeBron to get even on Luka, and then in the next round, potentially knock off Steph, or maybe Şengün.
I like Şengün in that company.
Imagine it. Yeah. And it's a real possibility.
Yeah.
So I know what you're saying about that the numbers say, what the...
Statistically, both of those guys are ahead of
this series, to me, and the reason, one of the biggest reasons the Lakers are down 3-1, is because the guy who was supposed to be the best player in the series has been the third best. Because it has been Ant, LeBron, Luka. Yep. And LeBron has been wildly impactful on the defensive end. It hasn't mattered. You know what I mean? He has been incredibly efficient. Yesterday, he only took 9 shots. He was getting the free throw line a ton.
That has to be some type of record.
Correct. and it's also got to be the most free throws I think it's the most free throws he's shot in a game in his Lakers career, I think. But regardless, what this is going to start, in fact, I'm sure it already has started, is an earnest, honest discussion That is Anthony Edwards just better than Luka Dončić?
Yes, because he can do everything. Because he can do everything. And Ant puts in the effort. And Ant puts in the energy. And he does all the other hustle physical plays that Luka does not. That's just a reality. You could be the biggest Luka fan. You got to concede. Just like how you could be the biggest Steph Curry fan, you have to concede that Steph Curry is not an elite defensive player. You got to concede the realities of these things, okay? You just do. But you know, the biggest takeaway from this game is really just multiple things. Is that, and this is what I said going into this series, that you still need LeBron to be larger than life. And he can't be as regular, you know, with a degree of consistency anymore. Especially now, I mean, like, what is he going to look like in the next game after playing all these minutes? He's got to be fried. And this is why I pushed back on Nick Wright, saying, oh, the Lakers are the most dangerous team in the NBA. And he literally guaranteed that if they're the 3 seed, they're guaranteed to make it to the Western Conference Finals. And I was like, that's ridiculous. And I took so much heat for that. People saying that I'm just being a hater, that I'm a LeBron hater, that I'm a Lakers hater, which was just never accurate. Never accurate. And, you know, and he said it was devastating that the Golden State Warriors go into the play-in tournament and have to play the Rockets. And now the Warriors are up 2-1 and the Lakers are down, you know, 3-1. And I'm not counting the Lakers out, to be very, very, very clear. Because I do think LeBron and Luka are special. But this is the problem with the playoffs. And this is the problem with Luka. And this is the problem with LeBron's age. In the playoffs, these games come down to such small, microscopic, narrowed-in moments. It's not always just about hitting that big shot, going for 40. It's that extra hustle play, that extra tip rebound, right? Muscling your way up for a layup. You miss that layup, but you still hustle back on defense. And that is what Ant does right now better than anyone, especially in this series. It's what LeBron has always done. That's why some of his most iconic moments are like blocks and great defense and his physicality. And Luka does not bring that to these games in the playoffs. And they matter tremendously. They matter tremendously. Just like how Steph Curry was a liability with his size and strength in the playoffs because physicality, defense, being able to endure being beat up throughout the playoffs is necessary because we know it's more physical. And it hampered Steph. If Steph was like 2 inches bigger and 20 pounds, you know, essentially built like Ant kind of, I mean, it's game over. So again, it's okay to admit when a player has some issues, some limitations. Doesn't make you a hater, it just makes you accurate. So it's going to be okay. But that's what it gets exposed. Luka is a beast. Luka's still making shots that you're just like, man, how is this guy make? Because again, he looks like an old man because he's got like an old man body, you know, playing, you know, rec. And yet he's just able to make shot after shot. I remember when I was younger and I was in this one league, and this was like kind of like a mixed bag league after I was done playing like, you know, real competitive ball. And these guys, they were just like, you know, this is when I was like, you know, I don't know, like 17, no, like 22, whatever it was. And these guys were like in their deep 30s, 40s even, but they were just bigger, stronger. They were like overweight, but they could just hit shot after shot after shot. And it was just like, I'm younger, faster, stronger, better. And yet I still can't stop you. And that's what Luka feels like because he just hits all his shots, but like, that's all he does. That's all he does. And you need more of that. You need more of that in a playoff game. Go look at the hustle plays that Ant was making, that Naz Reid was making, that LeBron has made throughout his entire career. And you do not see that from Luka throughout an entire game, throughout an entire series. That holds back the Lakers. And then when it gets boiled down to these, you know, the final minute, you foul Ant. Yes, it was a foul. It was obviously a foul. We got one of the most amazing angles ever. And it wasn't hand part of the ball. Ant is literally wearing a wristband on his arm, on his wrist that you can clearly see. And LeBron like hits the other side of it, like clearly the wrist. It's as clear as day. And he did not need to do that, and he knows it. He had Ant trapped. There was zero reason to swipe down. He just had to just cover him over. Ant had nowhere to go. He just had to hover over him, and he knows it. There was zero reason for him to need to swipe. There was nowhere for Ant to go. And if he now jumped up and tried to force a shot, they were never going to call a foul. But when you swipe down, well, they didn't even really call a foul when they swiped down. But now with the reviews, you can see it. So there was zero reason for him to do that. And he knows it. And then also the inbound play that led to a turnover. That's fatigue. That's not making the right play when you need to. And I said this in my other video, and people kind of pointed out, oh, it was the right play. Passing the ball to Austin Reeves was the right play for the final shot. Yeah, it was the right basketball play, but it was the wrong decision. It just was. Steph takes that shot. We saw in the Olympics, it was the wrong basketball play, but it was the right play. LeBron and KD were both like, oh, what are you doing? Steph shoots that and makes it. Luka or LeBron needed that shot. Luka or LeBron. That's what it comes down to in that moment. Luka or LeBron. That's clearly the way that game was going. That needed to be a Luka or a LeBron shot. In a game that Austin Reeves has been inconsistent all night, was scoreless in the first half. Yeah, I know he was getting things going. Doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter. In that moment, you got to be LeBron. You got to be Luka. This is the way it is. Seriously, I understand. In a vacuum, it's the right play. In reality, in real life, did you see all the amazing shots that LeBron kept hitting in game 3? The game that was on Friday night? I mean, it was amazing. I mean, that was one of the best games ever. That was one of the best games I saw LeBron play. I mean, that was awesome. Big bucket after big bucket after big bucket. It was an awesome game. They needed some of that magic from LeBron. And they didn't. They got the hustle plays. They got the physicality. But they needed more of those big shots. That was a moment for that. Or Luka to prove why he's there. And they didn't. And I'm not saying that the outcome would have ended it differently. I'm not saying that. And obviously if Austin Reeves makes that shot, then it's a completely different discussion. And I get that. I do. But again, like I said in a previous video, basketball is not a 1 + 1 = 2. It's not always just 1 + 1 = 2. It's an art and a science. And, so, yeah. This is a tough loss for the Lakers, being down 3-1. Obviously, all the momentum with Minnesota. I think the Lakers are still in it, make no mistake about it. But, at a minimum now, if the Lakers move on, it's a 7-game series, which I think is devastating for a 70-year-old LeBron James playing all these minutes. It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. At the very least, you got to go back to LA. You got to go back to Minnesota. You got to go back to LA. Then you're going to either have to travel to Golden State, which isn't the worst thing, or, travel to Houston. It's a lot. It's a lot. And there's no denying that. None. None. And you've already seen that you can't rely on any of these other players. And that's the problem. You can't go into series relying on an Austin Reeves, on a Rui. It always gets boiled down. Even if you have a big 3, it still always gets boiled down to the true 1 and 2. Always. Yeah, you need a Steve Kerr to hit that shot. Of course. But it's still Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan. Always. Yeah, you need, Chris Bosh to hit some shots. LeBron, Dwayne Wade. Steph, KD. Steph, Clay. Now Steph, Draymond. Yeah, you need Pods. Yeah, you need whoever, Buddy Hield. Yeah, you always need these other players to still hit shots. But when push comes to shove, basketball always gets boiled down to your top player, top 2 players. Luka, LeBron. If LeBron's 5 years younger and the Lakers win this, I think they win both games. That's my point here. That's my point. And I'm not blaming LeBron in the traditional sense, because he's doing everything he can right now. But 5 years earlier, LeBron and Luka win this game. They would be up arguably 3-1. And that's always been the problem with this Lakers team. LeBron, because of how great he is and how great he's been, as old as he is, you think that he's going to be able to still be able to do this at this level in the playoffs. And he simply cannot. He also needed to have like a 40-plus point game on top of all the hustle plays. And he couldn't. He couldn't. And like I said in my previous Lakers video, it is such a difference when Luka's going off and when LeBron's going off. It's just different. LeBron elevates everything. Luka seems to isolate, even when he's cooking, even when he's dropping, 40-plus points. It's got a different, disconnected energy to it. And that's why LeBron has the career that he has, and that's why Luka has the career that he has. It's just the reality. Doesn't make you a hater pointing out reality. Luka and LeBron can still be special. Luka and LeBron can still turn this series around. Luka and LeBron can still win the championship. But it's going to be a different style play. It's not going to be how they're playing right now. It's just not. Luka still needs to mature. Heck, Ant still needs to mature. But Ant overcomes some of his immaturity in the traditional sense, like on-court immaturity, with hustle, with drive, with execution, with laser-light focus. With laser-light focus. With athleticism. And that's something that Luka lacks right now. Again, that's just a reality. His game has to evolve. Has to evolve, especially with an aging LeBron. And if you're expecting Austin Reeves to be consistently great in the playoffs as a third option, I don't know what to tell you. That's not the way how basketball works. The Golden State Warriors had Klay Thompson as their third option, who's a Hall of Famer, and they could not rely on him to be great game after game after game after game. They just couldn't. They just couldn't. In fact, they even won a title with him being incredibly inconsistent. Incredibly inconsistent. So your excuse can never be that. Your excuse can never be that. When you're talking about players who are supposed to be two of the greatest basketball players in Luka LeBron of all time. And if you want to bring in Austin Reeves and some of these other players into the fold, well, then you have to admit that it's a team sport, etc., etc. Then you have to forgive why Embiid hasn't won. You have to forgive Luka. You have to forgive Jokic. Again, you can't have it all both ways. This is very much the Mahomes effect. You can't give Mahomes all the praise when they win and criticize all the other players when they lose. You can't have it both ways. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Lakers losing to the Minnesota Timberwolves? And what do you think the biggest takeaways are? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.